Welcome to the Bad Girls on Business, the podcast that makes business more fun so you want to do more of it. Here are your hostesses with the mostesses, Jenny Bellinger, Virginia Muskies, and Michelle Nedelec.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Bad Girls on Business, the only podcast that is safe, sane, and consensual. We'll be as nice, naughty, or as kinky as you like, and we'll give you a safe word. It's meatloaf, because we do anything for business, but we won't do that. And today we are super excited to be welcoming the very naughty Anke Herrmann to the show. Anke is a business coach, online tech expert, and the author of Taming the Tech Monster. She started her entrepreneurial journey in 2004 when she quit her software developer job in the UK, moved to Spain, and started a sewing business. She soon realized that building a business really is a creative process, the same as sewing a dress or developing software, a magical mix of skill and soul. And she now helps coaches and educators confidently grow their business online without losing their sanity over complex tools or time-sucking admin tasks in a highly effective way that's both playful and methodical. So, Anke, welcome to the show, and totally forgot to introduce the hosts. So, Anke, hold on just a second, because in this real, raw, and unedited show, where there are F-ups, mess-ups, and screw-ups on a regular basis, I'm Virginia Muskies, the referral diva, here today with my co-host,
Jenny Bellinger. I am your direct sales dom, helping you whip your business into shape. And now, Anke!
Anke, we are missing, Anke, we're very sad to say we are missing your mistress in business, Michelle Nedelec. She was unable to be here for this amazing interview. She looks forward to listening to it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever it is that she listens in. But we want to give her a shout out as well. So, Anke, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you here.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about being naughty with you ladies.
Yes. Jenny, she likes being naughty with the ladies. She's our kind of gal.
I like it. I love it. And already, in the pre-interview, she said something that I absolutely love. And because I've been saying it myself for 2.5 years now because of my podcast, which is, if someone doesn't like your brand, they weren't your client anyway. And I was like, hell yeah, A to the men. You are my person, Anke. So I cannot wait for this conversation.
So something that's really interesting, Jenny, that Anke and I found out about each other in the JVMM was that we both make flamenco dresses. So
Nice.
I've made one, but she makes flamenco dresses. So that's kind of interesting. So Anke, let's talk sewing and business. How'd you get started sewing, and how'd you get started in tech?
Well, I think there's a little bit of a sort of mix up in the sequence there for me. Sewing, I started, probably kind of when I could walk, so I was the kind of kid who would sit there in a corner and started, Grandma, show me how to crochet, how to knit, anything. Give me a thread, give me a piece of fabric of anything. I take the old tea towels and make dresses for my dolls. That's how I started. So I've sewn all my life, really. And when I got to an age where I realized I've got long arms, long legs, nothing ever fits. Ooh, wouldn't it be cool to make stuff for myself? So I found a pattern, really quickly saw that, well, you know what? I actually have exactly the same problem as if I walk into a shop, because the patterns are made for standard sizes. So I've got exactly the same problem. Wait, step back. I need to learn how to make patterns so that I could really create. I could take an idea to a finished thing. I needed to know how to make patterns. So next thing, learn how to make patterns. And that was a hobby of mine, as long as I could think. Now, professionally, I grew up in East Germany. So having your own sewing business and studying fashion was just not a thing. So the thing that was most, everybody, all the teachers, oh, you're a language girl, you need to study languages. Okay, languages are cool. Like languages, let's study languages. And basically, kind of in my very first job, I met an Australian and he says, oh, my contract finishes, let's move to Australia. So, well, little girl from East Germany, Australia is like, oh my God, on my bucket list, let's go. And so I went to Australia with the idea that, oh, being a translator, being a linguist, multilingual, like multicultural Sydney is going to be heaven. Boy, was I wrong. Quickly realized that nobody paid for language skills. It was hard to find a job in that space anyway. And the job I found eventually was still the most stressful, worst paid job I've ever had. So I knew literally within like 3 months, I'm not going to last here. So literally what I did, I sent out my resume to anybody who'd have it and stumbled into a software company. They were the one. There was this guy who says, hey, I've got a friend and I think you guys would get really well with each other. We're still in touch to this day, right? And so it was true. The guy was basically an entrepreneur, visionary. He goes, yeah, you come, you want to learn how to create software? Go here, do that. Like, he was so supportive, and it was a really supportive environment. And I was like, oh my God, this is interesting. People are just as ignorant as they are about languages, but there's the perception that this must be really difficult. So people paid well. I'm like, I'm interested, but it was overwhelming. It was like, what is all that? I don't know where to start. I'm way too old. I'm a woman. I'm not technical. Overwhelmed, until it dawned on me, wait, programming language, wait, what? This is just a language. It's got a vocabulary, small, concise. We can handle that. It's got a grammar. It's got a structure, nice and static, right? It's basically like a real language without all the bullshit. So I know how to learn languages, right? So that's when it sort of, in my mind, it shifted. I thought, this is a world that I can explore for myself, that I can find my feet. And it turned out what I thought was the biggest disadvantage, the fact that I'd come into this industry late. Well, late in terms of age. I was like 30 at the time and thought I was going to compete with all these 20-year-olds. And it turns out that was the biggest superpower I had. I was the geek who could talk to clients. So all the clients always wanted to talk to me, because I was the one where they felt heard, where they was like, you don't talk down on us. You don't talk geek on us. So I would be able to figure out, and the thing that I learned in that space was literally to realize through frustration. I remember the project where it was a home loan application software. And I'd speak to the guy who was supposed to explain to me how his job worked. And I'm like, okay, what happens? No, people submit this thing. And then what happens? Well, I'll send it over to Jane. And I'm going, okay, who's Jane? And he goes, well, Jane sits over there. And I'm like, what's her role? And I'm like, for God's sake. And I was getting frustrated until it dawned on me, like, you know what? If he was any good at abstracting that sort of thing, he'd be a software guy, not a banking guy. That's my job, to tickle that out of him, right? And so I got really good at that, to see beyond what they're saying and see what they're not saying and figure out what's actually going on, and then come up with a solution that is solid and basically is simple, solid, and solves the problems that they have, but also the problems that they didn't even know yet that they're going to have, right? So it was actually the bit that I thought was my weakness turned out to be the biggest strength. So I was like, software, I'm in my element here,
That I want to jump in, because that makes so much sense to me, because I've been the guy you just talked about, right? Talking to somebody who in the IT world was helping me develop something, and I had that moment where he kept going, well, would you like this feature or that feature? And I was like, wait, that's an option? That's so freaking cool. Like, it felt like so futuristic and visionary to me, to have somebody who really understood what the possibilities were, and got me to stop thinking in this really small little box of my business and what I was doing, to make it bigger. And that's an amazing skill, Anke. Amazing. And is that what you get to still do now?
All the time. Yeah.
All the time. Oh,
I've basically
good.
come around to that. And a big part of it was to actually literally, when you work with people and they come, like, literally most of the job is talking them out of stuff they want, right? Because people, like, when it's not your area of expertise, you kind of either you don't even know what's possible, or you've heard something and you go, I want that, but you don't actually know the implications of that. Right. So you if I will just do, in software, there is a golden rule: never, ever, ever implement what the client tells you. Recipe for screw up always, right?
I love it when I go, okay, so what I need you to do is A and B and C and D and E and F and Q and R and S. And then somebody goes, or I could just do Z. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, like I could write one line of code for all of that nonsense. And I'm like, okay. So finally, my tech people are like, outcome. You just tell me where you start, what, and I always talk about the island of ick and the island of wow, right? Yep. Like they're like, tell me your ick, tell me your wow, get the hell out of my way. I'll be back in an hour. Like they're like, stop problem solving in this. It's sort of like self-diagnosing. Like you go to the doctor and you're like, I have cancer. And they're like, you have poison ivy. Like, it's like,
and I
remember going to the doctor one time. He's like, I can look. Like I go, yes, all of that's true, but actually I can see your back, so you can't. So let me look, and maybe we can have a conversation. So yeah, I think it's true for all fields. Everyone has their preconceived notions about what is possible, and if I were going to do it, this is how I would do it. So this is how I want you to do it, and that's like such a mess. Anke, I'm curious because what I heard you saying all through what your story is, and I ran into a frustration, or I ran into a problem, or I ran into hopelessness, despair, despondence. Like I ran into that. And then I thought, well, shit, I have a marker. I can just color it. Like there was always sort of a stopping moment where instead of being stuck in the muck, you were able to take a step back and look at your assets and bring something to bear. Can you talk about that just as a mindset or a skill set? Is that how you're wired? Did somebody teach you that? And can you teach us?
Well, there's part of it. I think there's part of I've always been like that. Like the kid that kind of, my grandma, like, would say, like, you're such an easy care kid. You just sit you in the corner, and all of a sudden there's like some stones, and next thing you know, you built something with it, right? And I wouldn't want it. And so it is kind of, it comes natural. But at the same time, I always think the biggest lesson that I learned sort of quite early, because I grew up in East Germany, right? And I got out before the wall came down. And I always felt like growing up that was like, oh boy, you were unlucky. Like, boy, if you just would be born like a few hundred kilometers like further down that way, life would have been so much easier, right? So I always thought it was like a hindrance. But what I learned in this process of getting out, where it was like, okay, you kind of go, you sort of burn your bridges here, you haven't got a clue where you're going. But it was literally all we could see, like the West was going to be better than what we had. So it was literally like Christmas. You don't know what you're going to get, but it's going to be something cool, right? So it was literally that. So you didn't expect anything bad, and took the plunge. And the day I got the notification, you're out, you're on that train and you're off, and then you will not come back. At the time, that was February 89. Like I had no idea that the damn wall would come down 10 months later. So it was literally a one-way ticket when I left. And there was like, okay, my idea of what I knew about where I was going, very vague, very like no idea really. And it shaped my idea of what's at stake. So I always say, like, in case of doubt, try it out. I tell my clients all the time, like, it's like, this is my mantra. In case of doubt, try it out. Because there's only one way to find out. Because in case of doubt, it's moving to Australia. Oh my God, moving to Spain. Oh my God. Like, and I'm like, what's the big deal? There's something that calls me and I want to know, so I'd rather go. And because I think there's nothing at stake. If I don't like it, I can go back. If I don't like it, I do something else. So there's just kind of like, whatever, I don't care. I want it out of my system. I always say I fear regret more than failure. If it doesn't work out the way I want it, well, who cares? It's not a one-way ticket. And that's where I realized, like, oh, this is like this little trauma response from getting out of East Germany, because that was a one-way ticket. And there was the sense of like, oh my God, if you screw up, you can't go back. And everything else is like, what's the big deal? If it doesn't turn out the way I like it, then I can go back. And there's this yeah, well, in case of doubt, I'll go for it, and I'll deal with the consequences later, right?
It's funny because I'm just sitting here thinking about things that I don't do right in my life. And I'm like, but they all feel like I can't go back. Like, the story that so I often speak about the story that I tell myself, right? So the story that you tell yourself is, I can go back. And if I can't go back, something better is there. Like when I go back, if what was there wasn't there, then the next isn't there, then what's there is better. Right. Like,
Yeah.
And that mindset is, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to do some Joe Dispenza work on that or something.
No, it definitely makes life easier, because even if you go and, for God's sake, let's just try. I actually have there's a vague book idea, and I always call it just don't try and control the ripples, just throw the damn stone, right? Because you cannot. I have so many stories where I would follow a hunch, where it was in no way logical to pursue that thing. And then in the end, something came back my way where I think you can't plan this stuff. You cannot. You cannot pretend what's going to be a money make. And that's why, literally that's why your program spoke to me, because it was that building relationships. Because for me, all the good things have come out of building relationship, maintaining relationships, and not with the sense oh, we talk today, let's see whether I can get back something tomorrow. I know the ripples will come back. I just don't get to say what the ripples will be precisely and when they're going to come back my way, but I know they will come back, and I know there will be, a good outcome from it one way or another.
Gosh, if I had a commercial, now would be the time to put it in there. This program is brought to you by the Referral Engine.
No kidding. Oh my gosh.
Masterconnectors.com. Anyway, yeah. So that's the program she's referring to, Jenny, is our Referral Engine program.
Yeah. I already have my takeaway from this episode, right? Because as soon as you said the phrase, it hit me in my core, which is don't control the ripples, just throw the damn stone. I am taking that, slapping your name on it, putting it that's my mantra. That's my new mantra from Anke
So that
Herrmann.
book's gonna get written, right? Because I actually have so many stories of in my own life where I've done seemingly weird shit that has turned into something amazing. And then I thought, well, let's just turn this let's include other people's stories, right? Because everybody has a story, and it's just to encourage people, in case of doubt, try it out. For God's sake, go for it. What's the worst thing that can happen, right?
Oh, I love it. And I'm very much the same way in that, I'm look, I will throw, I don't just throw the one stone. I throw 5 at a time, just get them out there. Just do it. I'll deal with the after effects later. It's okay. That's the high I in me and the, talking disc or whatever that we were saying. I think it was pre-interview, but yeah, that's definitely me. I so get that. But when I'm talking to clients who are not that way, who are but what's going to happen if, what if, all those what ifs that come up. And so how do you answer that question with your clients in the what if, they throw the stone and what if?
What if the Loch Ness Monster comes out and eats me?
I mean, see, the thing is, certainty is always an illusion. You've never known what if. Right. And I think the whole pandemic thing just made it really visible, but it was never any other way. You never know what's going to happen 2 seconds from now. We don't know, you're still alive. So you've been able to deal with it just fine, because otherwise you wouldn't be around. Right. So it's it just shows you what you've been doing all along, and to try and to pretend that you have any way to predict what people will think. Well, good luck with that. Right. I mean, I tried. I tried for years in my sewing business because I didn't know how to say no. I burned myself out in the sewing business because I didn't know how to say no. I understood that it was my job. If somebody came to me and wanted a dress, it was my obligation, or it was my idea of the whole purpose of having a business was to give them the dress they wanted, right? And saying no to, hey, I need you to come and take the dress to the theater because I don't have time and my time's more important than yours. It didn't occur to me that I could say no to that, because I thought, oh my God, they're going to be so pissed off. and then they're going to badmouth me. It's a small world, artists, like small bitchy. I'm going to be done. Like in my mind, saying no meant they were upset. They wouldn't come back. They'd badmouth me to all their friends. Nobody else would come back, and I'd be hungry in the streets, right? So, and it really took me to an extreme situation where I was like, you know what? Living your dream, if this is what it is, you can have it. I don't want it. And it was literally that I needed to go that far down, and it took me 8 years to get there, to say, well, look, I'm done. Like next time, one of those people will come and say, I need you can just go and, and so I was just like waiting, like, come on, give it to me. Ask me something stupid and I'm going to send you. And it didn't take long. Somebody came and said, oh, I need you to take the dress. Can't do it, sorry. And she goes,
I'm happy to do that for you. It'll cost you 7,000 euros.
Well, exactly, right? And I said, look,
like happy.
Yeah. I didn't think
happy
about
to
it at the
arrange
time.
that to happen. Let me call a courier and mark it up 120%.
Exactly. And so I said, well, look, can't do it. And she goes, you know what? I'm going to pick it up on Monday. Actually, works better anyway. And there I was, and I'm like, wait, what? Wait, what?
What?
And that was really the moment I saw, oh, so there has been like, okay, it was never them causing the pressure. It was my damn silly story that had caused it. You feel like an idiot. Like it was really humbling. I felt like a total idiot, but at the same time also liberating, right? Because you think, well, okay, who the heck am I to think I can predict what will and won't upset somebody, what will or won't make them come back? And if I can't predict, I might as well say yes when I want to say yes and say no when I want to say no, right? So big learning curve there. Yeah, hell yeah.
I love that. Love that. Virginia.
Anke, yeah, so one thing I think is really fascinating about your work, because I think we think of most technology people, Marcel excluded, Jennifer, the vast majority of tech people are really very sort of process oriented and very, right? So they're just sort of like, and this is how you do it. Click here, click there, point there, do that, write this, put a period, put a comma, 2 colons, / whatever. But I know that one of the things that you really pride yourself on in your business is not so much the shift in, say, like technical knowledge or technical capability as it is personhood. It's the ontological transformation of a business owner from, I'm scared, I'm telling myself shitty stories, I'm holding myself back so I can't have success. And that through the relationship that you build with them, working with them on their skills with tech and on getting tech done, you're actually shifting their mindset from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset and helping them see their possibilities. So can you talk a little bit about just tell us a story maybe about how you shifted somebody, or how does that shift happen when you're working with them?
And it's, thank you for taking it that way, because it's really where the heart of it is. It's to, I always say, like, what looks like a tech problem never is, right? It literally never is, even if it's an error message. I work on screen share a lot, and I see people, oh my God, like you can see them like tense up, and I'm going, well, that's weird. I didn't think it would. Like, it's not the message on the screen. It's never a tech problem. And I just work off the assumption that people have what it takes to figure this out. So when somebody comes, and I had a client, it's like, well, we've been working together for quite a while now, but when she first came, she was like, I'm not having any of this. Like this tech stuff, like I need a website and I want to bring my message out in the online space to go beyond locally where I work. And so my first question was, okay, so are you using, like, are you familiar with Dropbox? Like, how can we share files? She goes, no, don't want to know. Go away. Like literally, she was like, not having it, don't want to know. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever, we'll figure it out. And so she then actually told me, I didn't even realize that. And she then basically said to me, she goes, I don't know what the heck you did, but next thing I know, she goes, oh, well, look, I live streamed the Zoom call into my Facebook group. And then I went into Canva and I did like a fancy thumbnail. And I'm like, you did what? And she goes, yeah, I just actually enjoy tinkering with this now, and it's just like, not, if you say, well, you can't learn this, I don't care. Like, I just don't believe it. I know you can. And I'm very much always looking for that connection. In my mind, learning and teaching is literally connecting something unknown to something known. And it's my job to find that little known for you, right? And so the moment you, and then I can find a way to explain, she goes, oh, well, I get that. And so the moment I can, like, she goes like, oh, yeah, I get that. Well, I'll give that a try. The moment she makes one move and goes, oh shit, oh, that's interesting. Well, okay, now I've worked this out. What if I did this? And like, progress is addictive, and they get really hooked on it. And I'm just like nudging, like, try this. And I just totally ignore when they say, well, I don't know, well, try this, go click here, like, do that. And it's just like they kind of don't even know how they get sucked into doing things. And next thing they know, that, oh my God, I figured this out. That's amazing. I never thought I could. Like, and that it's kind of the same effect that I remember experiencing like 25 years ago. Somebody dragged me along to a Tony Robbins event, and I did the firewalk thing. Was sure I was never going to do it. Right? Nowhere in hell I was going to walking over these coals. I went with the friend, so she didn't have to go alone. I signed the non whatever disclaimer thing because I wasn't going to do it. In the end, I did. And I literally walked away like, wait, what else can I do that I think I can't? And I think I'm actually doing that kind of thing and using almost tech as a less dramatic way as a tool to get people to give them that safe space to just experiment, to try things out. I've had people that come on calls, they go, oh, well, I don't know, like this went all pear-shaped, but I knew you were there, so it was going to be all right. So I just tried it, and then they give themselves the opportunity to figure something out, right? And then the next thing is, well, the person who didn't want to know about Dropbox, like she does her live videos and she starts to edit videos, and now I use Descript, and she goes, like, I enjoy tinkering it. So because it gives me power, I don't have to, every time I want to create something, I don't have to find somebody to help me. I can if I want to, but I don't have to. So it's that empowerment. And somebody else, like she goes, you know what I did? I went to this shop and I bought a modem. Well, she told me it was a router, but I didn't care. I bought a thing because my internet didn't work, and I went home and I installed it all by myself. And there was my husband saying, you could never do it. Watch me. Right? That attitude, right? And so she's almost 70, and she goes like, I don't care. Like, I can do it. I can figure it out. And I think it's that, because then they take that into other areas of life. And that's what gives me so much satisfaction, where the tech is only the tool. It's just the way in. It's where they perceive the pain, where it hurts. That's why they come for the tech. But at the end of the day, it's never about that.
Yeah. I definitely see that in the world of business, because especially nowadays, given that so much of our businesses, 2 years ago, literally to the week, 2 years ago, we all had to move from, in-person business to virtual, right? And so all of a sudden it all became about how well you could maneuver from the in-person to the digital, the tech side. Could you pivot?
Space,
Yeah.
I remember we're coming up on the anniversary. So today, Jenny, is the anniversary that we got the memo.
Yeah.
So today's the anniversary of when our BNI corporate offices sent us a memo and said, as of next week, your chapters cannot meet in person anymore. And we were like, what? Right? So thank you, Nicole, who's our member services person. But we got a lot of that technophobia that, oh, well, I'm just gonna wait till we go back. I'm like, you could be waiting a lifetime. Like, the minute. So my philosophy on this stuff is like, that happened, and I was like, great, this is the new reality. This reality could last a week. This reality could last a month. This reality could last my lifetime. I may be quarantined in my home for the rest of my freaking life. This may be the reality. So I'm gonna figure it out, make the best of it, improvise it, optimize it, whatever, because this is today's reality. And the other thing that I know is they're like, well, what if you learn all of that and then we go back in person? I'm like, well, no one can steal my learning, number one. And then the whole notion of, it's kind of like what you talk about, Anke, is like, well, I don't need this every single minute of every single day, but how do I take what I learned there and bring it over here to make this better, or to get out of this problem, or create that opportunity? And I think, that to me is just so brilliant, and moving people from that space where I talk about myself and I say, well, back in the day I was technophobic, then I got techno curious, I had some moments of techno furious, and now I'm I like techno tinkering is pretty fun. That's a pretty good one. But like I'm techno competent. Like I'm so proud of myself. I'm like, look, everybody, I built a web page and a button, and I made a payment. I found a way to make a payment form, and I put it on the button, and then I found a way to make a banner, and I put the banner, and then you click on the banner, and it takes you to the page, and you click on the button, and you can ta-da. And everybody was like, how did you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I just was like, okay, what are the 101 ways I know to make a page? I can use this thing. I can use that. I can go to Stripe. Like I just started thinking and I was like, oh, wonder if I could do it there. So it really is just a decision that you're going to problem solve, and that the answer is sitting there and you have everything you need, which I think is really cool. It's really cool. Anke, so tell us a little bit about how you work. So if people were interested in working with the lovely Anke Herrmann, how do people work with you? Do you teach a course? Do you work one-on-one? Is it retainer? Like, how do you structure your business?
Yeah, no, I work pretty much one-on-one. I have a partnership with somebody else where we have a group program, but my work, it's because everybody, especially with that tech, when people come from that, like the tech direction, it's everybody is at such, because we are kind of a generation, we didn't learn this stuff at school, right? So you can't assume a certain, like, everybody's learned this a certain way and everybody knows at least this, right? So some people will be tech savvy to the point that they're dangerous, right? Because they think they know, right? And so they will go and start implementing processes where I'd go like, do you need like these 7 out of 8 steps are kind of like, don't make sense? Like where you think, but you can get it to work with 8. So you can probably waste a lot of time doing it in a way too complex way. And then you've got people who go, oh, email, what? So in anything in between. So, and what somebody, depending also on what their background is, right? So it's like how you explain stuff. There was somebody that she goes, I don't know, like I've not started my email list. Like, see, that's the thing. People think, oh, my problem is the email list, right? Now, when you actually know, so why, what's the problem? Well, I don't know what to write about, right? And I'm like, you like photography, don't you? She goes, yeah, well, when you go with your camera, once you start looking, you see motifs everywhere, content's the same, right? Right, she got it, right? So with somebody else, you say, well, the reason, and I mostly, with most people, I work in a sort of very sort of, kind of, you could call it retainer, but it's a very sort of flexible way of working, because and anybody who's ever worked with fabric, I say, well, you know what? It's like an alteration. Until you open that first seam, you don't really know what you're in for.
No, it's
right.
There.
So it's very difficult to say, well, okay, we work together for 3 months, and at the end of this, you have your website, you have this, you have whatever. I don't know, because it depends on, most of the time, people think they want a website, but then it turns out when you dig, they don't even know yet who they want to work with. So we're talking message. We're talking copy, we're talking like, and so the way I've built this now, and I'm like, okay, if you hire me, you get the lot. You get the tech stuff, so which is the shortcut where you don't have to spend years learning this stuff, but I'm going to be a devil's advocate for, whatever you write. Okay, it might be the copy. It might be, okay, I don't know what to do in the Facebook group. So anything I know that will help you build your online business, I bring that to the table. So it's this, would say it like a holistic approach. So people might come for the tech, but there's usually, it's the small part on the side that becomes fairly obvious once the issue underneath, once we kind of know what it is you want to build and what's the best and most efficient way to build it, then the tools become kind of obvious, right? And then I get like my little personal satisfaction is every single client will at some point, to their own surprise, hear themselves say, oh, I can't wait to keep working on the website. I can't wait to kind of do that. Wait, what? Did I just say that this was fun, right? So this is like, yeah, because they realize that 90% of the work is just a creative process. It's bringing to life their business idea, and everybody enjoys that creativity, right? And it's just like, and then if you can do the tech stuff without the potholes, without the detours that you have to go through, if you have to just figure it out by yourself, well, then even that part is fun.
Nice. Now, Anke, we're going to wrap up here in just a minute, but you have a gift for OU who is listening, right? So you have a gift. So if you're listening right now, we're going to pop a little link in the show notes, and Anke's got a gift for you. So what do you have for our listeners?
I have a copy of my book, Taming the Tech Monster, that will kind of set your head straight about what you can and cannot do and clean up a bunch of myths. And I recently had somebody say, it's like, well, I read your book and then I went off to set up my Stripe thingy that I've been struggling with, and I'm not talking about Stripe in the book. So I don't know how she did that, but it definitely has the intention to help you see that you have what it takes to figure this out.
Very nice. Oh, Jenny's unmuting. Go, Jenny.
Well, I was just going to say, so the link to that is going to be in the show notes for those of you who are new. Maybe you're new to podcasting, or this is your first time listening to the Bad Girls on Business. In order to grab your link, in order to get your free copy of Taming the Tech Monster, what you're going to do is grab your phone, because we're assuming you're listening on your phone. Click on it.
Unless you're driving.
And please don't.
Unless you're driving.
Yeah,
wait,
if you're driving, don't do this yet. But
or riding a bicycle.
Yeah. Grab your phone, click on the episode that you're listening to right now, and then just scroll up a little bit. You'll see the show notes there. You'll see the link where you can go grab Taming the Tech Monster from Anke Herrmann, and you can learn how to tame your tech monster with Anke. So thank you so much. This has been so much fun, Anke.
Thank you. It was so much fun for me too.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you hopped into the Bad Girls universe with us. What are we, like the multiverse, the Bad Girl verse? Like, I don't know, the BGOB, the BGOB. I don't know. Like what? Oh,
I guess we could technically be the BGOB, BGOB.
We could. I know that came out and I was just letting it go by. I'm
not going to let that go by. Come on.
Letting it go by. I meant to say the BGOB, but no. Oh,
all right.
Goodness.
Now, don't forget, Virginia, we have questions that we need to ask Anke. We have our Bad Girls
that is right.
questions that we ask every one of our guests.
I know. And you know where they are? They're in my OneNote, and my OneNote isn't open right now.
That's
so
okay.
I really
that's why I was taking my time to stretch, because I was like, I bet she doesn't even have it
tell
open
me beforehand. We haven't. So Anke, here's what's really funny here. We have not recorded in a little bit because I was really, really sick. Yep. Right. So
out of practice, out of pattern, guys. This is a great
like I forget to introduce the host. But this is raw, real, and unedited. So you listening, you too can be a podcaster.
Yeah. See, this is just proof. You don't have to be perfect to be a podcaster. It's all good.
All right. So we're going to finish up with some naughty questions, and then Jenny's going to take us out. So Anke, you ready for the Bad Girls naughty questions?
Absolutely.
Here they are. Marketing, domination, or seduction?
Seduction all the way.
Networking, exhibitionist, or voyeur?
Voyeur. Mm-hmm.
Leadership, gentleman dom, or power sub?
Power sub.
Okay. She's our kind of girl, Jenny. She's our kind of girl. All right. Team, building a team, married or mistress?
Married.
Okay. Entrepreneurship, monogamy or polyamory?
Oh, polyamory.
All right. Well, we love the answer to those questions, and we love asking them too. And Jenny, it is your turn now to take us out. Thank you, Anke, for being our guest.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Anke, for being here. We so appreciate you. And for the listener, make sure you go check the show notes, because we have all of Anke's contact information there. You can click on any of those links, email, her website. All of that is there, plus her socials, so you can reach out to Anke. And don't forget to get your copy of Taming the Tech Monster. And make sure you also connect with the Bad Girls on Business by going to badgirlsonbusiness.com. This is where we have our podcast episodes as well as our Easter eggs. So make sure you go check out, click around on different things on the page, because we have special gifts from each of our bad girls for you, our listener, but they're hidden in fun little Easter eggs. And now make sure you stay tuned, because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thank you for listening to the Bad Girls on Business podcast. Don't forget to check the show notes for any links mentioned in this episode and for additional contact information about the guest or our hostesses. If this show got you going, we'd love to hear about it when you subscribe, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Can't get enough of the direct sales dom, the referral diva, or your mistress in business? The Bad Girls have hidden their gift for you at badgirlsonbusiness.com. When you find the Easter egg, use the password BGOB to unlock your treasure chest of goodies.